What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. In this video, I'm going to do a penetration test with my 44 Magnum snub nose, and I'm going to be shooting some 44 specials at regular half-inch plywood. And the purpose of the test is to see how many sheets of regular half-inch 3-ply southern yellow pine plywood a 44 special can penetrate through when fired from a snub nose 44 Magnum revolver. So let me just show you the revolver I'm going to be using for this test. This is my Smith & Wesson model 629 Performance Center 44 Magnum. It's got a 2 5/8 inch barrel, 6 round capacity. I absolutely love this handgun. Just a great general purpose handgun. I got some night sights on here. I got these Olight night sights in the rear, and I have custom night sights in the front, and these are made by Tooltech Gun Sight. They're based out of Michigan. I'll leave a link to their website if you're interested. So this is basically what I would call a carry gun for a 44 Magnum. Obviously, a lot of people are going to say that's crazy. Why would you carry a 44 Magnum? This is actually my EDC handgun. As of 2022, I carry this thing, and I've been carrying it for years. And some of the ammo that I carry is some 44 Special. Now, 44 Specials, when fired out of a snub nose revolver like this one, basically duplicate a 9mm or a 45 ACP. And that's one of the reasons why I love the 44 Magnum, because you can go all the way from bare loads down to light 44 specials that you can carry in the city, especially if you have a short barrel revolver like this one. This basically takes up the same amount of real estate as a standard size Glock. So it is a pretty small handgun, but it packs a lot of punch. So I'm going to be shooting at some regular 3-ply southern yellow pine plywood. Okay, this is just the type of plywood you would find in the walls of your house if you live in the United States. So I was always curious how many houses would a 44 Special go through, and maybe this will shed some light on that. And I have done 44 Special versus sheetrock, so if you're interested in seeing that video, I'll leave a link in the top right corner. So the ammunition I'm going to be using is some Underwood Ammo 44 Specials. I have their 200 grain gold dot hollow point load. This one I've chronographed out of this revolver here, and I get around 885 feet per second, so it is moving very slow, and it generates around 350 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. So this is basically almost like a 9mm. It's a little bit heavier grain weight than typical 9mm loadings, but it's a 200 grain bullet, around 900 feet per second, 350 foot-pounds. That's basically the same energy as a 9mm, and this is the gold dot hollow point. So this is made for rapid expansion, and these bullets are commonly used by police officers and for concealed carry because they expand so rapidly and they prevent over-penetration. And the second load I'm going to be using is the Underwood Ammo 245 grain full metal jacket. This one has an advertised muzzle velocity of 950 feet per second, and I've never chronographed this one, but I would assume it's probably going to be similar to the gold dot. It's probably going to be around 875 feet per second, and that's going to be a muzzle energy of around 425 foot-pounds. So this is similar to a 45 ACP in terms of foot-pounds of energy. So I'm going to be shooting at this plywood from a few yards away, and what I've done with the plywood is I've screwed the plywood together, so I have like a block of many sheets screwed together, and I'm going to shoot at that plywood block, and after I shoot at it, I'm going to unscrew the block. We're going to count how many sheets these two loads penetrated through and see what the difference was between the Full Metal Jacket and the Gold Dot Hollow Point. Is there a huge difference, or is it not much of a difference? And how many sheets did they go through is going to be really, really useful information for anybody that plans to carry a 44 Special for home defense or concealed carry. You want to be cognizant of how many walls your ammo will penetrate through, okay, because you don't want to hit a bystander. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy the video. First 3 shots are going to be with the Full Metal Jacket, and the last 3 shots are going to be with the Gold Dot. All right, guys, I want to go over the results of the test with you. So the Underwood ammo, 44 Special, 200 grain Gold Dot Hollow Points with a muzzle velocity of just under 900 feet per second, penetrated through 4 sheets of regular 1/2-inch 3-ply Southern Yellow Pine plywood. And the Underwood ammo, 44 Special, 245 grain Full Metal Jackets, penetrated through 6 sheets of regular 1/2-inch 3-ply Southern Yellow Pine plywood. So 2 more sheets with the Full Metal Jackets. So 6 sheets with the Full Metal Jackets, 4 sheets with the Gold Dots. That's still a lot of sheets, guys. 6 sheets for the Full Metal Jacket. If you think of a regular house in the United States, it has 1/2-inch plywood all around. So if you didn't have anything inside of the house and you shot at the house, with the gold dot hollow points, you would still penetrate through basically an entire house and maybe a second house behind that house. And that's assuming if there's nothing in the way and there's no studs that the bullet hits. But hopefully this gives you guys an idea of how much penetration to expect in plywood with 44 specials when fired from a short-barreled snub-nosed revolver. So not only is it important to know for over-penetration purposes, but also for cover. If you're going to use a house as cover, this test proves that using a house as cover is a bad idea unless you have some kind of heavy furniture or if the house is made of masonry, because bullets will go through houses like paper, okay? They'll go through plywood like paper, and I've done other plywood penetration tests with rifle cartridges, and a .308 can go through 30 sheets or more of plywood, okay? So if a 44 special can penetrate through 4 and 6 sheets of plywood, imagine what all different kinds of rifles can do. And I just gave you the example with a .308. I could penetrate through over 30 sheets easily with just basic ball ammo out of an AR-10 with a short barrel, okay? So I want to just go through all these sheets with you one by one, and then we're going to take a closer look at the bullets. We're going to weigh them and see what kind of weight retention we got. So here we have the first sheet, and here we have the hole from the gold dot, gold dot, gold dot, full metal jacket, full metal jacket, full metal jacket. And you can see the back of the first sheet. Not really anything interesting here, just some 44 caliber holes. But then as we get into the second and third sheets, we can see the difference between the gold dots and the full metal jackets. You can see the holes are starting to get larger for the gold dots in comparison to the full metal jackets, okay? And here's the back of the second sheet, and you can see the exit holes on the second sheet from the gold dots. Look at the size of these holes compared to the full metal jackets. Huge difference here, and that's just in the second sheet. Okay, so full metal jackets will penetrate a lot more, but they don't create as large of a wound channel because they don't expand. And here in the third sheet, we can really see the difference in the size of the holes between the gold dots and the full metal jacket. So here we have the gold dots, and look at the difference between the gold dots and the full metal jackets. Okay, much smaller holes with the full metal jackets, and the gold dots here, you can see much bigger hole, okay? And the back of the third sheet, check that out. Look at the exit holes here from the gold dots, much, much bigger, okay? Here's the gold dot exit hole. Here's a full metal jacket exit hole. Huge difference, okay? Massive difference. And then here we have the fourth sheet, and here's one of the gold dots just barely penetrated the fourth sheet, and the other two penetrated through. And here's the back of the fourth sheet, and you can really see the difference between one of the gold dots and the full metal jacket. Look at the size of this exit hole here. It's just pretty insane. And then here we have the fifth sheet, and two of the gold dots were stuck in the fifth sheet, and the full metal jacket's still going through the fifth sheet. And then here we have the sixth sheet, and what's interesting is there's still two very large dents from those gold dots. And then here we have full metal jackets, and here's the back of the sixth sheet, okay? Nice 44 caliber size holes. And here we have the seventh sheet, and they got stuck in the seventh sheet. And one of the nice things about large caliber cartridges is that even if you use full metal jackets or solids, they're still going to leave a big hole. So that's good, because even if you use a full metal jacket, you're still leaving big holes, okay? Look at these holes, guys. Here's my pinky, and just for comparison, I could almost fit my pinky through one of these holes, okay? And that's just with a full metal jacket, all right? And that's a 44 special. We're not even talking 44 magnum here, all right? So let's take a closer look at the bullets now. Let's weigh them, see what kind of weight retention we got. All right, guys, so let's take a closer look at these bullets. I'll start with the gold dots. Here's one of the gold dots. Look at how it didn't expand. It just kind of flattened out, and the wood got embedded in that hollow point. And this is common when you're shooting at wood. If you shoot these at water, they have nice expansion, but in wood, they don't necessarily expand that well. And you can see how thin the jacket material is on these gold dots. Not much to that jacket. It's like paper thin. So that's why they expand really well. And here's another gold dot. Okay, basically just flattened out. And look at that paper thin jacket. All right. And here we have the last gold dot. Pretty interesting. It just flattened out. No expansion. It just flattened out basically. And here we have the full metal jackets. The noses on them flattened out a little bit. So the jacket material on these full metal jackets is definitely very thin. They flattened out a little bit. Here's another one. This one flattened out a lot more. Check this out. Look at how it deformed. The nose got pretty deformed there. Check that out. Still wouldn't want to get hit by one of these. It's an absolute bone crusher. And here we have the last full metal jacket. A little bit of deformation on the nose there. So I'm going to actually measure the expansion on these gold dots just for curiosity's sake. So here's the first one. Got about 0.56 inches. Here's the second one. Got about 0.56 on the second one as well. And here's the last one. Probably also similar. 0.578. So that's a lot of expansion for just shooting at wood. So let's weigh these now. Start with the full metal jackets. 240.4 grains for the first one. Basically 100% weight retention. Here's the second one. 239.6, basically 100% weight retention. 240.2. So all of them basically retained about 240 grains, so only lost 5 grains, basically 100% weight retention. Let's move into the gold dots now. Wow, 202.9 grains. It's a little bit heavier, and that's just because of the wood that got embedded in there, but that's still pretty impressive. And here we have 201.3, and then the last one we have 202.5. So very interesting. The gold dots actually retained 100% of their weight, which is really interesting. So if you're interested in seeing some of my other plywood penetration tests, I'll leave a link to my plywood penetration tests playlist. I've done 300 Win Mag, I've done 4570, I've done 500 Magnum, 308, 44 Magnum. I've done a lot of them. So I'll leave a link to those videos in the top right corner. But that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.